Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Grand Cat and welcome to a very special unboxing. This is for Charmy Bee, the 2-inch figure, and what's special about this is I have never owned a Charmy Bee figure before, because the only way that you could get Charmy Bee previously was as part of a 3-pack set with SBO and Vector with Jazzwares. And but the thing is, there was already a 2-pack that came with Vector and SBO beforehand, which I'd already bought, and I didn't want to buy another Vector and SBO to just get Charmy Bee. So this is the first, I believe, single release of Charmy Bee, which is the final member of Team Chaotix to buy, unless of course they release Nick the Rat, I believe that was his name, the traitorous member of Team Chaotix. But here he is, 7 points of articulation. He's not easy to find. He is a relatively rare figure, largely because he is a new figure. But let's read his little blurb. Armed with his signature... let's try that again. Armed with his signature jacket and sharp stinger, Charmy is an essential backbone of the Chaotix Detective Agency. So, let's open him up and see what he is like. So, just tear him open. I'm not keeping the packaging, because keeping the packaging of these figures is akin to madness. This is akin to madness. You can see that Charmy is very, very small, which is good because he is supposed to be. They have made him to the correct scale and the correct size that he is meant to be. I believe Charmy's debut game was Knuckles and Chaotix on the Sega 32X. And there he is. He supposedly has 7 points for articulation, so let's take a look at the articulation before we look at anything else. So his arms are on a trigger joint, so they can move up and down. He does have his little antennas. The wings also have movement, where they can actually... Do they turn as well? They move in and out, certainly. I don't know if they can turn or not, and I don't really want to go forcing it. It does have the little stinger, as it says. I think maybe they move back and forward. The head does fully rotate. There's nothing preventing that. And the legs are also on little ball joints, so they can rotate as well. And I think the feet are attached to the legs, so... There you go, there's the full articulation. He's actually very well made, this Charmy Bee. So I'm very, very happy with it. This is a very cool look, and I think this looks better than what the Jazzwares Charmy Bee did as well. In terms of looks, it actually looks like what the character is supposed to look like. So there he is. And we're going to do something rather cool that we can do now, is we can actually compare him with the rest of Team Chaotix. So, of course, we have SBO. Now, SBO, I'm using the Jazzwares SBO. I do have access to the Jax Pacific. Is it Jax Pacific or is it just Jax? It's just Jax now. No, it is Jax Pacific, yeah. Me forgetting the names, but I think the Jazzwares SBO is actually a little bit better. He's a little bit shorter as well, and I think that in terms of scale, SBO is better at this scale than the slightly larger one, but also in terms of the articulation, obviously Jazzwares is significantly better in that. But even the colour and look of him, I prefer that to the slightly darker shade and the bigger sculpt of the Jax Pacific one. However, I do absolutely love the ginormous and giant scale of the Jax Vector the Crocodile. So bear in mind that this Charmy and this Vector are both made by the same company. This is both in the same line, and this is them to scale, which is correct. That is the size difference between them, which is fantastic. And there you have, from Sonic Heroes, Team Chaotix. However, we can go a little bit further, because anyone that remembers, Team Chaotix was originally Team Knuckles and Chaotix on the original 32X, So we're not going to use Knuckles, but we're going to use classic Knuckles instead, because he is the stand-in. Because on the Sega CD, you had Sonic CD, but on the Sega 32X, the exclusive Sonic game was Knuckles and Chaotix. And Knuckles and Chaotix, I believe, was the first Sonic game that you couldn't play as Sonic. You might be Tails Adventure on the Game Gear, but I remember the Sega 32X being a big thing that you couldn't play as Sonic. But what you did have instead was you had Mighty the Armadillo. And of course we are using the 2-inch Mighty the Armadillo because Mighty the Armadillo was essentially the exact same sprite as what Sonic was, apart from just made him red. They gave him the red shell on him instead, and there you go. And that is, for all intents and purposes, all 5 members of Team Chaotix, unless you want to be really pernickety and you want to include Nick the Rat. I'm sure that Nick had a different name. It was something about his little pop gun, but he was the one that turned traitor, and he was only in Sonic R and only in Sonic Fighting, I believe. As like Sonic Fighting was the only one where he was an actual playable character. Well, I think you can play him in Sonic R as well, but in terms of an actual non-racing game, that was the one time that you got to play as Nick outside of his car. And also I think Nick had 2 different names as well. But there we have it. It's very, very cool to see the full, complete collection of all of them. Let's see if we can actually like get Mighty to just stand up a little bit more, because he's kind of really leaning down there. That looks a little bit better. There we go. So there. Very cool to see. Also, Espio's hand is posed like a ninja hand. You know, he's doing this sort of thing, like as if he's practicing his ninjutsu, and of course Espio is a ninja, so that makes sense. Well, to finish this up, the final collection of Team Chaotix, let us get the rotation gimmick out, and we'll pose them all together on that with the celebration of Charmy as the last one that we needed to finish off this very, very long drawn out set that I have waited for a very, very long time. And there we go. Just make sure that Mighty isn't going to fall over. Get Knuckles in there next to Mighty. Of course, we'll put the new one, Charmy, out front. And then Vector, the leader, is going to take up half of the base by himself. And there we go. And that is it, folks. That is all of Team Chaotix for the time being. Of course, if they release Nick, sorry, not Pick, then I will be buying him as well, and he will also be added to the team. But it's very cool that we've got the full... Is his hand going to knock off there? I'm just going to watch this very carefully, just in case. Oh, he just misses it. Vector was not smacking off of the background there. But for all intents and purposes, this is Team Chaotix finished for just now. And it is very, very cool to see all this lineup. Of course, Mighty and Knuckles are also part of the Jack Specific line. That is the 2-inch scale line. And of course, Charmy is slightly smaller than the other ones. You can get a 4-inch Mighty the Armadillo, but I don't think the 4-inch Mighty the Armadillo really makes that much sense because he is meant to be slightly smaller. He is meant to be in the same scale as Classic Sonic, but of course you can get a 4-inch Classic Sonic as well. So, I mean, the scale that you want to go to is entirely up to yourself. But that right there in front of you is what I believe as a Sonic fan to be the true rendition of Team Chaotix in all of its glory, all of their best versions of each of the figures. Also, interesting note, the 4-inch Mighty the Armadillo is what made me start collecting the Jack Specific figures in the very first place, because it was the first time that they'd ever made a Mighty the Armadillo. So that's a little bit tidbit for you all. But with that said, folks, if you are a Sonic fan, I would absolutely love it if you gave me a like, share and subscribe. And if you are subscribed, make sure you click that notification icon so you can see when more of these Sonic videos go out. And do check out the Sonic Videos playlist that you can find by clicking on my name, the Grand Cat, which you can find right down there. Click that, go into playlists, and then you can see all the Sonic videos all paired together for your enjoyment without any of the other stuff getting in your way. If you're a Sonic fan, that is the best place to go to because you'll see all sorts of cool and crazy and very rare items that show up in there as well. But that is going to be it for this little video, folks. I really hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.